KBBBL podcast. Where the extra B is for BYOBB.
Where's my elephant?
All right, who's responsible for this?
Oh my.
Okay, it was me. It was me.
Yeah, you're responsible, Davan.
Welcome to KBBBL podcast, where the extra B is for BYOBB. And what's that extra B for?
Today the extra B is for Bring Me Presents, because it's 2 weeks away from Christmas and I need to cap off shopping for my 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Ross Presence is listening to our podcast.
Yeah, B
I am your authorized host, Davinator, because this is Homer's Odyssey. And with me, a couple of real dip signs, if you ask me. Our technical supervisor, El Bakio.
Hey, everybody.
And also our supervising technician, the dog with bees in his mouth.
Question, Davan.
Barks, he shoots bees out of his mouth.
Absolutely. I was gonna put that in. I was like, is that gonna be too long? No, that's obnoxious. I'll just be the dog with bees in his mouth.
Almost as obnoxious as Jerry Simmons. Question, Davan. If one of us is technical supervisor and the other is a
Supervising technician.
Yes. Who's in charge of who? Like, which one of us is Sherry and Terry's dad, and which one of us is Bart's dad?
Oh, it's still me. I'm C. Montgomery Burns around here.
Okay. So you're running this factory.
You guys.
Hey, you guys look hot. Of course we're hot. We're radioactive.
You guys are radioactive.
I'm waking up. No, sorry, I won't sing that goofy song. But I hope I'm not too radioactive. How do you feel, Francis?
I am no longer radioactive. There was a point last week where touching me probably would have killed you. I was so sick, but yes, I'm much better now.
I'm glad to hear it.
Good to hear. That is good to hear. Because there needs to be 3 hosts to this podcast here.
Well,
did
we
you
could
guys?
always.
Did you guys BYOBB?
The beer that makes the days fly by.
Beer. Now there's a temporary solution.
Did you guys bring your temporary solution? I did. I
did.
brought an old staple, Garrison Irish Red, for when you're feeling Irish.
I almost picked up the Garrison Red today too, so I'm glad I didn't. I got something different.
I got the Dirty Blonde, which I plugged last week, but I didn't actually have. And this is my kind of normal go-to beer, so I figured I might as well plug it again. I hammed it up last time, but this time I'll just say honestly, really nice beer, light blonde beer, very, very tasty. It's good. Buy it, folks, or check it out.
Double whammy. More likely to get us a sponsorship. Attaboy.
Also, really quickly, you said we need 3 hosts, but Davan, we could always, cast Francis instead with an inanimate carbon rod, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely not a host. I'm an innocent bystander who was dragged here against his will. Don't you guys love the graphics on this box? I mean, I got an island. It's actually a cider, Island Folk Cidery from Cape Breton. And normally I am not a cider drinker, but my partner left this behind and my beer was not cold yet. So I am drinking a cider instead. It's not bad.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. We are here to review Season 1, Episode 3 of The Simpsons, Homer's Odyssey. Not to be confused with Homer's Odyssey.
Quite the pun that they had there.
Oh, yeah. But before we get into the review, fellas, why don't we have ourselves a little sit down under the turnip tree.
With a cool glass of turnip juice.
What you guys been up to this week? Wake up with any new tattoos, Baker?
I didn't wake up, The other day, I did further work on the back tattoo. So I guess you could say I woke up with that new tattoo. But I actually did get another tattoo today. So
Is this
there
just
you
what you're
go.
gonna do every Friday? Like every Friday, you have a new tattoo.
Possibly. We will see. The tattoo jokes just keep lining up so perfectly that I have to roll with it. But yeah, I got a very small axolotl tattoo. They're very cute little amphibian creatures.
Yeah, we love axolotls with their external gills.
Yeah.
Make sure you're keeping all those invoices, Alex, and send them directly to Davan. I understand his podcast empire is going to pay for this gag, so make sure you're claiming all that stuff.
Superfan Sam wants to see the tattoo with color.
It's not in color yet, but it is shaded, so I guess I can briefly.
I just want to see Alex take his shirt off.
Woo! I'll just like peel the back. Is this?
Oh yeah, geez, that is some more work done.
Yeah, so just shading for now. But
Nuclear
we're gonna get
hot, Baker. Nuclear hot.
Oh yeah, I'm radioactive, all right. Radioactively sexy.
What about you, Francis? Anything new?
Nothing, man. Like I said, getting over that cold. Mostly just working, prepping for Christmas. I know I should probably have something like interesting to say since we're supposed to be entertaining people, but I don't. I'm old. My life's boring.
Yeah, me too. I got nothing to say. I spent a week selling Christmas trees, but at least that's on theme.
Watching The Simpsons is the one high point of my existence.
I mean, people can be lifted up by comparing themselves to you, kind of.
That's it. Yeah, that's why I'm here for everybody.
First appearance of Sherry and Terry. Yes, indeed, this is. Are we going to have guests on this podcast? Yes, we are. We have people chomping at the bit to be on this podcast.
Inanimate carbon rod, folks. It's coming.
Yeah.
Inanimate carbon rod won't stop sending me emails. I've quite frankly had enough. All right. Here's another quick little segment. Introspection. This is where we talk about the intro since we get to see the changes. When they played them on CBC back in the day, they had like 5 that they would just keep replaying. So I basically forgot that they did all these gags in each one. And there's stuff like visuals that seem to change each time too. Like this time, Lisa's running into the house with a bunch of books. And that's not normally the case.
They want to establish she's bookish.
Yeah, but did you guys happen to catch what he was writing on the chalkboard this episode?
What was he writing on the chalkboard?
I will not skateboard in the halls. Classic Bart.
Establishing Bart as the prankster.
Indeed. And is in a skateboarding hooligan punk. Dreams of waking up with tattoos and whatnot. And also the gag on the couch was they broke the couch.
Yes, which we will see again. Season 1, we talked about it last episode. They really didn't intend for the couch gag to be a thing, so much as they kind of, I don't want to say they got lazy, because eventually the couch gag, they had to get really creative coming up with them. But initially, it was sort of a way to cheat on the minutes for the episode. Just an extra 20, 30 seconds that they can cram in. Some of them get really long and extensive.
Yeah, it's like 30 seconds less of jokes that we need to figure out for the episode.
Yeah, really. It works though. Everyone looks forward to them.
Yeah, eventually it becomes a whole thing, right? So
yeah, some of them are so elaborate.
It's time for a breakdown.
Don't mind if I do.
It's
episode.
I fucked it up, guys. I didn't do the phenomenon at the right time.
It's episode 3, but I think I just realized, is that why we have that soundbite? Because it's like a mental breakdown that Homer's having.
Yes.
Nice.
Phenomena.
Thanks for catching up with us, Baker.
Yeah. They think I'm slow.
Took Baker 3 episodes to get here, but he's book smart. Baker's book smart.
6 hours from now, Baker, are you still here? Well, you really are slow.
All right.
We come in for the episode last week. Next week, you're still in the lobby, just hanging out.
My water dish is empty. I depend on you guys for survival, essentially. If anyone wonders what
And
happens
water
when
in
the
your
lights
dish.
go off and the podcast ends, I'm just put back in a little hamster cage that Francis and Davan keep.
Yeah, like this, we have it set up like we're in different places, but Baker's actually just in the sub level of Davin's house, and he can't get out of that room without Davin's access.
They
I'm
feed
in my
me fish
basement. He's
heads.
in my sub basement. Not even the basement below this basement.
Yeah.
The sub basement.
Don't forget
I
about
don't
the
really want to
bowling
get into what's in
alleys.
the sub basement. That's not really relevant to this conversation.
But
the sub basement has Baker in it.
It's a very complex building, clearly.
Yeah,
it's
a whole
so
compound.
we built them out here in the passage. All right. Well, this episode begins in Springfield, in front of Springfield Elementary, and Mrs. Krabappel's trying to get everyone on the bus, but Bart's too busy chatting with Otto about the new tattoo he woke up with.
I kind of like this like rough, not refined Otto appearance.
Yeah,
like he's like kind of him. His voice isn't quite right, and he's like the rhythm of how he
looks
speaks
a little
isn't quite
different
there. Like
Well, fun fact for you guys, and I noticed last episode I was typing and it was making noise, so this time no typing, everybody. But I did write down Wallace Wodarski and Jay Kogan were the co-writers of this episode. Wallace Wodarski, very fascinating individual. He's a prolific writer. He also is an actor in a lot of Wes Anderson films. Not a big character, but like background parts in a lot of Wes Anderson projects. Kind of interesting. But Otto modeled after him. If you look at a picture of him online, yeah, he looks very similar to Otto, which, I guess is not surprising. But really quickly, Wallace Wodarski and Jay Kogan, they co-wrote, off the top of my head, Bart the Daredevil, with the Grand Canyon jump. They wrote the original Treehouse of Horror. That was them. So their contributions to Simpsons lore is pretty massive.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've
also
been meaning to
Davan.
make a segment out of that where you talk about the writers of each episode. That'll be next episode.
I like it.
Right.
Really quickly, they also wrote the Krusty Gets Framed episode, which is the introduction of your favorite character, Davan. Voiced by Mr. Kelsey Grammer. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I do love me some Sideshow Bob. Can't wait till he gets in here. All right. So eventually, she gets Bart on the bus, and he has to sit with Wendell, who pukes every time he's on the bus. So that's unfortunate for Bart, of course. But there are no other seats.
And Wendell. And unfortunate for Wendell. Let's be real.
Yeah, poor kid.
Oh, yeah, sitting next to Bart if you're queasy is probably not ideal. I get it. That's true.
Oh, please, Mrs. Krabappel, not next to Wendell. He pukes on every bus ride.
Like, if he's puking every time, maybe they shouldn't be putting him on the bus. I don't know.
Yeah, you can't just leave the kid behind. It's like, yo, sorry, Pukey, you stay your ass at the school.
Yeah. Sink or swim, Pukey.
Bart, not another word out of you, or I'll subject you to the humiliation of making you sing in front of the class.
Can I pick the song?
No. The song will be John Henry Was a Steel Driving Man.
She has that already. She's a bad teacher, but at the same time, she's quick and she can.
I've been waiting for this moment. Yeah. I like how Bart leans right into the song too, though. Later when they have him singing, like they have to stop.
He used to threaten me with humiliation too, back in my Bart Simpson days. That was a known tactic back. They don't do that anymore. It's like the Stinger.
Yeah, they don't let you use that no more.
It's just classic Bart taking a punishment and finding a way to take advantage of it to showboat and just be a prankster.
Yeah.
Do you have a clip of him singing it, Davan?
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, they took Bart Simpson to the graveyard, and they buried him in the sand. Oh, yeah. And every locomotive that comes roaring by said, there lies a steel man. Lord, oh, there lies
Classic American folklore.
He's got the background dubs and everything in there. It's so good.
He knows all these obscure references, though. He's an interesting character in that way. Like, he's not super smart or anything, but he knows
pop culture.
A lot aware of the culture. Yeah. Even like old timey pop culture. Like he does like it's St. Swithin's Day already. Like he knows all this weird old stuff.
Well, we'll get into that. Bart's secretly a playwright. That reveal is excellent. but that's way later.
Word on the street is that your co-hosts are known as Baked Beans and Franks, says Cousin Dave.
Ah,
I'll take it.
yeah.
Oh, Bakey Beans and Frankie.
I like that nickname.
Yeah, it's not bad.
You put the beans in my bindle, guys.
So then, Bart congratulates Wendell and smacks him on the back and makes him puke anyway.
Yeah, classic visual gag.
But they drive by like the whole town once, and
yeah, another great gag.
Oh, it's a shortcut, Mrs. K.
It's a shortcut. Also, Otto tells
right back to their starting point.
Another great tattoo joke. There's so many in the early episodes. I don't know why, but Otto tells Bart, "Not till you're 14, little dude."
Yeah.
I don't think that's how that works, but okay. Shows Otto's not the brightest. This is his first introduction as well.
Oh yeah, and there was Sherry and Terry. They get him in trouble in the first place. I remember how bad they were. I used to hate them.
Whoa! They took Bart Simpson to the
Bring that
graveyard
back.
and they buried
Let's hear it again.
him in the sand. Oh yeah, and every locomotive that comes roaring by said there lies a steel. Lord, oh, there lies.
I mean, it really is catchy. Sherry and Terry are kind of a lot like Patty and Selma. I feel like they're a duo. Often they're really snarky and bitchy. Just throwing that out.
We see their father later too, which was
yeah.
I was always sort of confused. They sort of had like that kind of ambiguous ethnicity. Like I think I used to think they were Asian, but like we see their father later.
It's just the animation of season 1, man. Everyone's got ambiguous ethnicity in season 1.
Yeah, it's true.
We'll talk more.
They try a lot of different stuff in this episode.
Lots of ethnic variants.
There he is.
There's this one might be an unacceptable ethnic variant, though.
Well, I checked into this. So he was always intended to be a white character. It was just the animators colored him wrong, and they decided we can't
blame the animators, Baker.
Well,
you're blaming the animators.
Groening certainly did, but he said, "Listen, we could leave it this way since the genie's already out of the bottle. But he's such a sycophant. It's not really a good look if we have a black man who's very sycophantic. So they kept him white, which was the original intention for the character Smithers. He was always supposed to be a yes man." And we'll get into Mr. Burns' racial sensitivities later in the episode. It's one of my favorite gags in this episode.
And so this plant harnesses the power of the atom so that we have the energy to run everything from your favorite video game to yummy cotton candy machines.
Probably the most appealing of technologies run off nuclear power.
Cotton candy machines? Is that how that works?
Yeah, but anyway, they're there.
The many reactors they have at the carnival. That's how they work it, man.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about the reactors in my Glyven segment later.
Okay.
Cousin Dave's so hungry he could eat at Arby's. Dave, have a sandwich, man. Don't.
That one joke ruined Arby's for a whole generation. I've always had I've had an aversion to Arby's just because of that one joke.
You're like, what? Yeah, you hear it. You're like, is Arby's not good? Shit, I guess maybe it shouldn't be.
The Simpsons told me it was bad, so
the power they wield.
So they're there to take a tour. The kids are to take a tour of the plant and getting their educational tour here from Smithers, and also a little like old school after school special video, like kind of like the one in Jurassic Park. Dinosaurs, that one.
It came out the same year too. I think it might have been a coincidence.
Really? Well, okay.
No. This is first season Simpsons. This is before Jurassic Park for sure.
But that's what I'm saying is Jurassic Park came out later the same year, around the same time.
No, probably 3 years after this.
Roughly around the same time is the point. It's very like kind of synchronicity, like coincidence.
For sure. I think I got a clip of that little fella.
Oh, but what exactly is nuclear energy?
I don't know. Magnets, how do they work?
Yeah, Jurassic Park 1 was 1993, so like 4 years later.
Uranium-235, we're going to talk about that later too.
So, now you know the whole true story of nuclear energy. Our no longer misunderstood friend. So, keep on smiling.
I like how they make
true story. Yeah, just like the one in Jurassic Park, like Baker's saying, there are really some similarities there.
Oh yeah. I even when I was reading about this episode online, a lot of people pointed that out. It's definitely a noticeable parallel.
Mm-hmm.
So then you cut to Homer, and he's having some donuts. He's just like, I defy anyone to tell me you can tell the difference between donuts made today and donuts made yesterday.
Yeah, again, just like pinning him as this like slob that like, why are you eating the day old donuts in the break
His like
room?
coworkers just looking at him like with
Yeah.
such revulsion. It was like,
Well, yeah.
Do we see this guy again? That extra, is he around again?
No.
Or is this
Background,
only in the
background?
Probably a background character. He may even have speaking lines. I'll dig into that later. But like
You'd
I
be
said
surprised
before,
if
I
he
don't
has
want to
another
type.
speaking line for sure. So Bart sees Homer because Homer's driving around on his little cart.
Yeah.
The one,
I want one of those.
There's Homer and his buddies. So look at the guy. The guy's just like,
Just a look.
they want to see it like sitting on your ass eating donuts, Simpson. They take him a tour of your house.
That still frame, it looks like Homer's neck is just like, what is happening there? Oh my goodness! Season 1 animation, boys.
Yeah, it's true. So then he's driving around on his little cart. So took at the donut and coffee though. And Bart yells to him, "Hey Homer, look up here, look up here!" And Homer runs into a tube of some sort that lets out some radioactive exhaust.
Yeah.
And then everyone points the finger at Homer because, of course, it was Homer.
Another very strange looking coworker. This guy, oh my goodness.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah. I don't even know. Well, I guess he's working at a nuclear power plant, actually.
He's losing his hair from that, yeah.
It explains everything.
I was like, this probably isn't intentional, but it's like also like adding to Homer's like idiocy again. It's like, why is he the only guy not like in PPE, like protective radioactive shit, just cruising around on his little cart, right?
Listen,
yeah, that's I think an ongoing joke too. He never wears any PPE. Like there's a couple times when we see him in it.
In the opening shot. Think about it. In the opening like credits, that's like one of the only times he's actually wearing that suit.
Yeah, you never really see him. Yeah, you never really see him in it again.
Well, Dan Baker. Dan would lose it. Safety Dan, no PPE on.
Maybe he'll. I don't know if he's a big Simpsons buff. Maybe he can creep into the show someday.
Maybe.
But actually, no, he's not charismatic enough.
Your dad is incompetent.
What does incompetent mean?
It means he spends more time yakking and scarfing down donuts than doing his job.
Oh, okay. I thought you were putting him down.
Speaking of put downs, I'm just kidding, Dan. I love you if you're listening. But yeah.
So Homer gets fired. Bart sees it.
Do we have a picture of Sherry and Terry's dad in here? Do you have one queued up?
No, I didn't queue up a picture of them.
Just because you were
they're trying lots of things, which they never try again. Like after Smithers, they don't do black characters with blue hair again. I don't think.
Well, yeah, because you were talking about them being confused about their ethnicity, and I could be wrong, but isn't he colored like weirdly too? Isn't he like a weird off?
Yeah, he's like a black guy with
kind of brownish. Yeah, like he's weird looking.
Which
too.
is they never do again either. I don't think so. They tried like 2 different things that they just like don't do again.
Yeah, I think we can just chalk it up to the animators
trying things, I guess.
Yeah, like I don't want to say that they're bad, but definitely like I think they maybe had a short amount of time. I think that's actually the best explanation is the short amount of time for a lot of these episodes, the early episodes coming off of the Tracy Ullman show, where again, I think as shorts, they didn't have to necessarily be as well done because they were like little whatever handful of minute throwaways to fill out a Tracy Ullman show episode.
Yeah, and I mean, at this early on, like, I mean, obviously they were going to make the whole season and everything, but they, who knows what? There's no way they could have known that the series would become what it was and like the degree of consistency that it would eventually need. You know what I mean? They're probably yeah, whatever. Smithers. Oh fuck, we colored him wrong. Just leave it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think they made a good. Oh, sorry, Dad. You go.
Yeah, well, I was just going to jump back into it. You go for it.
I was just going to say, I think they made a good call recoloring Skinner's back to a lighter skin tone because, like, even compare Smithers in this episode to a character like Dr. Hibbert, the skin tones are like his skin tone is very strange color. Like,
yeah,
it's like black,
so
but
weird.
it's weird.
It's not even like black, really. Like you're like, what is he supposed to be? Like I don't know, but
that's what I mean. It's a mistake. It wasn't really intentional.
Yeah.
So you go into it, Dav.
It's almost like a poo's skin tone.
It's like when you be like drawing kids when you were kids. I mean, I don't know if you guys did it, but I would make my characters black when I was a child because my family was, and you accidentally picked the wrong brown. You picked that poo tan brown instead, and you're like, ah, fuck, that's the color he is.
Poo tan brown.
It's like a sick black person.
It's like a
It's like fucking jaundice. Like
yeah, exactly.
That's like a character in a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Oh
Poo
man.
tan brown. Anyway. I'm distracted. Okay, back to where we were. Cut to the next morning.
We're having
really
fun.
encouraging. Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, tangents are what this stuff's all about, man. So Homer tries to find a new job, and gets lots of doors slammed on him. So he goes to Moe's, and Moe answers the phone, and it's Bart playing his first prank call, I believe.
Yeah, the first prank call. Yeah, for sure.
Yep, and he says he's IP freely.
Genius.
And like the best one of the best Moe lines right off the start is just like, Homer's like, I hope you catch that kid one day, Moe. He's just like, he's tough to catch. Keeps changing his name.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
I didn't catch
that. That's a top tier Moe line.
That slipped past me. I didn't hear that. That's funny.
He's IP freely 1 week. The next week he's Amanda Huggins. How am I supposed to catch this kid?
Right.
It's
a lot of great.
So he's broke, so he asks Moe for a free beer, and Moe's just like, no. He's just like, what? After all these years, I think I deserve an explanation. Moe's just like, yeah, I don't think you're going to get another job and be able to pay me. And Homer's like, oh, yeah, fair point.
Consistent from the start.
Yeah.
Very.
Moe's cutthroat.
Yeah, cutthroat is a good way to put it.
Oh, yeah, man. He doesn't play, man. He's just like, no, but we're still friends.
We should look into, like, when we get into the side character stuff, because Moe's one of my favorites. We should look into how many times he pulls a gun on somebody.
Oh, several times.
Like pulling a shotgun up from behind the bar.
Well, or teaching people how to dance,
Yeah.
Cousin Dave says, forget about the skin color. These people only have 4 fingers.
Yeah, well, they live near a nuclear power plant.
Yeah, it's true. The fish have 3 eyes.
Oh, well, we do see Blinky. He becomes a bigger character later on, but we see Blinky the first time in this episode. An early Simpsons kind of mascot.
I have things to say about that later as well during my Glyven segment.
Ooh, I'm curious.
Well, we're getting into it. We're going to get into it. So then Marge, Homer's back home. Marge says she can go back to her old job because her boss said she could. She was at like a roller skating waitress.
Mr. Burger. We have another goofy pun. This one's actually the laziest of all of them so far, but I'll take it because he's a hamburger store.
Yeah, he's Otto, isn't it?
Yeah, it is Otto, and he's rude too. He's like, "Yo, where are my fries?"
If you're gonna go to the trouble of inventing a character,
hey, mama,
you gotta squeeze value out of that character. I like Otto. It makes sense that he would get burgers. He's probably just smoked a big joint. Gonna go get a tattoo.
So it's later that night, and then the beer commercial we played earlier. Homer really wants a beer, so he hits his rock bottom and he goes up and he steals Bart's piggy bank, and he smashes it open.
Really dark moment for this.
Very like that. But Simpsons was like that. It's so funny, yet it has heart, but also like realness and like darkness and human trials and tribulations and misery.
Oh no! What have I done? I smashed open my little boy's piggy bank, and for what? A few measly cents. Not even enough to buy 1 beer.
Or replace the piggy bank.
Oh, not enough.
Yeah, he's like, oh wait, let me see. Like it's suddenly like it's worth it if there does turn out to be enough money for a beer there.
So can we say this is probably the lowest moment we've seen so far?
So far,
3
yes.
episodes
We
in, and they've
should
already
keep a
had
tally.
2 really bad work things for him. Like first, he didn't get his Christmas bonus, and then he's fired. So they're really pushing that.
That's incompetence, but this is like, come on, you're gonna.
Well, the Christmas bonus had nothing to do with competence. That was just Mr. Burns being a jerk.
Yeah, that was Mr. Burns being an asshole.
Greedy
He definitely messed up with the roller cart. I think that's actually maybe a fireable offense, considering
Probably, yeah.
Considering the damage,
contaminated all that staff there. Likely, of course, they were wearing their PPE. It really just probably lowered his lifespan.
Don't forget about that guy with the weird mushy head.
It's almost like a reject, like Homer, like early, like like animated pitch, like yo.
Like, remember in that later episode they show this weird old version of them? It looks like that.
Yeah,
like the Tracy Ullman version almost.
It's a cavemanish.
So Homer writes himself a goodbye note to his family because he's gonna tie himself to a boulder.
Okay, so can I just step in here? Like, speaking of darkness, did anyone find this part like really sad? Like,
it's crazy.
I haven't seen this episode in particular in years and years. I forgot this whole thing happened, and it wasn't like at this point for me, it wasn't even comedy. I'm just like, this is fucking terrible. This is super sad. He's
literally thing was tough.
Yeah, the comedy of the boulder and him dragging it aside. It's just like, yo, I lost my job. I'm so worthless. I'm going to kill myself.
It's pretty
in
dark.
episode 3 of this series. It's super dark, right?
Well, it shows you.
I've noticed this with a lot of things because I'm a relatively new parent, only a couple of years, but watching things since becoming a parent, things just have hit me entirely different. And this is one. Like when he smashes the piggy bank, like I had to hold back the friggin' tears, man. I'm like, that's an insane low as a parent. And that it's like I wouldn't even want to like conceive of reaching that. But like, wow, like it hits you different for sure.
It's for substance abuse too. It's like he's just killing the pain.
True, he's an alcoholic.
It shows
one time, and I'll admit this. One time, I took 50 cents from Andre because I was 50 cents short for a laundry load, and I was like, "Am I fucking going to hell?" Like,
laundry load.
Beer-soaked laundry, Francis.
Yeah, that's a little different.
Should have just kept it dirty.
Did you break his piggy bank to do it with like?
No, he has a little treasure chest that he puts like change and like shiny rocks and shit in that he has, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm too cool to short."
Okay. Well, I think you're okay.
You can always put it back.
I buy him enough shit. He's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, this shows the early intent of The Simpsons was not just to make you laugh; it was to reach the audience. It was a sitcom. It reached the audience on an emotional level, and it deals with true human kind of problems. Like not everyone can contemplate suicide, but certainly lots of people get depressed and go through.
You do interrupt this scene with possibly the funniest line in the episode, where he's just like dragging his boulder by that old couple on their porch. And
they're brutal.
She's like, "Oh, young Simpson looks like young Simpson's gonna kill himself."
Young Simpson, and Homer refers to himself as a young man earlier. He's what, 34?
He's in his 30s. Yeah, he's not as old as he looks.
Yeah, I'm almost as old as Homer, and
we were super young when they had Bart, like relatively speaking, like right out.
Well, that's because that was more common back then. I think nowadays, due to the economy.
Well, and then they razz him
by his family, and that's
but first the old people they razz him too. They're like, "Oh, he's going to kill himself." They're like, "Oh, unless he's taking his pet boulder for a walk." Like they can see what he's going to do, and they're just fucking making fun of him.
Yeah, they're not going to help.
Mean-spirited old people, and they're not named characters either, are they? They're just sort of background old.
I feel like one of them again. I feel like one of them looks familiar. Like she might come back as an extra somewhere, as like a nursing home extra or something. Like. One of them looks familiar to me, but I can't say for sure.
I think Jasper appears the first time in this episode as well.
I didn't notice Jasper.
I don't think he has a speaking role. I could be wrong about that, but I think Jasper appears.
Okay, interesting. All right, so his family stops him from doing it. They say they love him and they need him, and so then Homer realizes that there's no stop sign in the intersection he was about to kill himself on. And he's just like, I'm not going to rest until I get a stop sign put in on this street. And then, he commits his life to putting signs everywhere. And there's a funny scene in the park there where there's just signs everywhere, including a dip sign, like you guys.
Oh man, some of those signs, dude, like sign ahead. That's a pretty funny visual gag. Also, the newspapers, the last one where it's just like enough's enough, Homer, or like enough already, Homer.
What's funny about this episode, and it's something I had forgotten, that this is the origin of why Homer's the safety inspector at the plant, because he wasn't fired as that.
That was interesting. Yeah, I forgot about this whole this one's way buried in the recesses of my memory. I forgot about all of this crap.
Early Simpsons.
He becomes the safety guy in town, so then they want him to take on the cause of nuclear waste and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but not really. They really just want him to shut down the protests. But
Early Simpsons, it's a little less. It doesn't have as much resetting. It has more establishing character roles. The first episode we saw Santa's little helper join the family unit, which obviously doesn't change. He stays. And this, Homer occasionally quite often he gets new jobs, but that's kind of his standard normal job is working as the safety inspector.
He always comes back to the safety inspector. Yeah.
So we're seeing the origin story of that position.
Yeah.
Any hilarious.
Any other job he gets is just any other job he gets at this point is just a one episode, one-off gag part of the storyline, and he'll be the safety inspector again by the end of the episode, right?
Which he shouldn't be. He really shouldn't be. Even he points that out to Burns.
Yeah, I thought that
basically Burns calls Homer in from his. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say this awareness he has of his own incompetence. Burns offers him the job, and he's like, "I'm the last guy that should be." He's like,
"I actually did more accidents than anyone, Mr. Burns."
Seriously. And he's like, "Even a few that people don't know about."
Yeah. Well, we're seeing early Homer. He's dumb and he's a klutz. He's negligent, but he's not completely stupid. He has that self-awareness that he knows he's kind of a fuck up.
Mm-hmm. So, Mr. Burns calls him in, offers him his job back. If he'll lie to the people and tell them nuclear power is safe. So yeah, he steps out to do that, and then he falls off the balcony, and they catch him and they carry him away, chanting his name. Homer's the new safety hero and the new safety inspector of the plant. That's how he got that job.
Kudos also, he puts his foot down. He doesn't just say nuclear power is safe. He's like, nah, I don't want to do that. And Mr. Burns is like,
sure he does.
Fine, I'll give you the job anyway. But get to work.
Yeah. But you'll be the safety inspector. Which, I mean, I guess, but in the end, all that really serves is to save Homer face, because he can go and be, hey, listen, I'm going to be the safety inspector. I'll fix this up, which is obviously not capable or competent of doing. And beyond this episode, you don't see any dedication of his to continue being the safety guy. So really the only purpose it serves is for him to be able to dispel the mob without losing his reputation.
Yeah.
And it works for Burns too, because Burns doesn't have an actual safety inspector on on his ass.
Mm-hmm.
He has an incompetent
plant
a carbon blob from Sector 7G.
Yeah. Just briefly, I'd like to mention, point out, nowadays, a lot of people would say that nuclear power is pretty safe. It's funny to see in this early 90s show, there's a very cynical attitude towards nuclear power.
Well, hold on, Baker. We're going to get to that.
Okay.
In a little bit.
Davan's got lots of sciencey stuff today. We're not allowed to talk about shit. Davan's got it all.
Yeah. Leave that to the professor, eh? So that was our episode breakdown. You know what, guys?
Eat my shorts.
Oh.
I am shocked.
You made me do it.
If we get to, I'll have to think of a good amount of viewers per episode, but I would eat shorts, if they're prepared.
If I told you my shorts tasted like a nice roasted kale.
Ew.
Yeah, I don't know about
Send in those soulful and doleful schmaltz by the bowlful.
I love you, Dr. Zaius.
So we got a lot of side characters to choose from in this one, so let's all pick a sideshow character to spotlight. Francis, you go first.
You know what? I'm just going to comment on Wendell because I think it's interesting. We see a lot of early incarnations of characters in these first few episodes, but Wendell, like as he is in this episode, pretty much doesn't change. Like he might always be the pukey guy. He's not always a pukey guy, but the way he sounds, his demeanor, sort of just being this kind of
boy
like
of low
wimpy,
constitution.
Yeah, this sort of like wimpy, whatever kind of losery kid like that. He's pretty much like that way through the whole rest of the seasons as he was today, as opposed to
good
changing.
Background character.
Yeah.
In that synopsis I was reading, he was referred to as Wendell the White Boy.
Well, he's super pale.
Yeah, that's
He's
the thing.
super pale.
I don't know if they mean by like white, like Caucasian. Maybe they just mean literally like his skin.
I
He
don't
looks
know,
like-
but that's what he was
looks
referred
sick.
to, Wendell the White Boy.
Yeah, I wonder if they animated him that skin tone because the gag is that he's so sickly.
He's so sickly, yeah, it makes sense.
Could be for sure.
My favorite side character introduced would have to be the happy little elf animated character. Did anyone catch this? There's a happy little elf that they reskinned like yellow, and they snuck in the background for
No, I didn't.
Homer when he's addressing the mob. But no, seriously, I have to. I already mentioned my boy Wiggum, but I gotta mention Wiggum again. This is his first speaking role, the introduction of Wiggum as a character, and
What does he say?
He's the one talking about Alberto. Remember, there's like
Oh yes, we're under siege by the graffiti artist. Yes.
yeah,
Alberto,
and we
yeah.
get another great visual gag. I forgot how many great, like, just you don't need the dialogue. It's just like the things you see are funny. The artist's rendition of Alberto is this.
Yes.
Looks like
That was
Snake.
good.
He looks like Snake, but he has like spiky hair. He's this really tough looking dude. But yeah,
Yeah,
Wiggum,
and like a grown adult too. Like he's this grown ex-con looking kind of guy, and it's really just like Bart in real life.
Wiggum is very near and dear to my heart. I think he's a very funny character.
You know what? He's
So
one of my
I have
favorite
to-
side characters too. He's so good.
Oh, yeah, he's good. Oh, okay, boy, he's having an upset kitty here. I guess I will go with Otto.
That's
He
a
classic.
choice.
it's the first time he says, "Yo, Bart, dude," and he says that a million more times in this show.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah.
Yo, Bart, dude. Hey, Otto, man. Like they established that relationship right
He
away.
and Bart get along really well. There's a lot of good Bart Otto episodes.
Well, and here it's like it's funny too because it's showing that he looks up to Otto, who is not the kind of character to be looked up to, but in Bart's like estimation, he's still
Yeah.
cool. Like he's got tattoos. He's like he's a rebel and that kind of thing, right? And this is what Bart sees as like a cool adult figure to like. have a
Hey, what are you
relationship
talking about, man? Now I drive the school bus.
with. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of my
I grew up at
favorites,
a
yeah.
school.
Now look at me.
Yeah, Bart idolizing the wrong people. We'll see more of that, of course.
What if your family don't like bread?
Because they like memes with Fat Maddie.
Fat Maddie.
All right, let me throw up your meme here, there, Fat Maddie.
I don't
Yeah,
think you're that
here we
fat,
go.
dude.
There's not
Don't
a
worry
lot
about
in this one. I just like this one because like I just found it was a very funny exchange. Like I laughed. I again forgot about this part and I laughed out loud so hard when it happened. Homer's there. He's totally dejected about losing his job. He's got the 5 o'clock shadow going on, which is interesting because like isn't his regular thing supposed to be a beard anyway? So then they add the stubble as if like to show he has.
Just
but how's
gets
the
Yeah.
stubble?
bushy.
Well, they show in one episode much later that immediately after he shaves, like for
Yeah.
a brief moment, it's
Yeah,
yellow
that
and then
goes
it
back.
fills out. So that must be like 3 days without shaving, kind of.
Yeah.
You know?
But then thanks, Sam. But then
I will not.
Okay, this is
Can
an
we
aside,
talk about
but-
his report card?
Well, yeah, anyway, he's totally dejected, so they just like totally take advantage of him. They're like, just sign this. But on that note,
it's like he's already
Davan,
down there anyway. Let's just throw a few kicks.
I want you to pull aside a sample of the fucking in the Sideshow Bob episode where he gets a nuclear weapon at the Air Force show, and the Air Force guy is there describing how the Harrier jet works. And they ask if they can fly it, and he's like, "Of course you cannot." I want that clip for you to play.
Okay.
He's like, "It's so foolproof, even a child can fly it." And Lisa's like,
"No, you
fly?"
cannot.
And he's like, "Of course you cannot."
Of course you cannot.
No, ma'am. This is Area
American
51A.
Marines, sir. We don't put up with that shit in America, sir.
So Bart's report card, really quick, since you're mentioning this scene. I had it pulled up here. He had it, now I lost it.
No, you can talk all you like here now, Baker. It's your segment.
Oh, well.
We could look this id thing up in the dictionary.
Right on, Doc. Another successful diagnosis.
I think it's
this episode, Dr. Baker.
I think it's kind of appropriate that I was meandering and struggling to find my point, when you led into my segment. So Bart's report card, I did find it. He gets an F in social studies, which I don't think is surprising. F in math. We already saw Bart's struggles with math in the last episode. D in physical education, which again, I think is a sign that Bart's not obviously he's not physically incompetent. He just doesn't apply himself. What is a U in science and reading and writing? What are U's? Does anyone catch that?
Unfinished, maybe.
Okay, fair. So
he doesn't turn in his homework.
But you think that would just get you an F? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, you'd think. I don't know.
So really, briefly, we already talked about the darkness of this episode, but I think that the theme or like the philosophy of this episode, the psychology, just has to do with depression, thoughts of self-worth. We see Homer go through a really dark gauntlet this episode, incredibly dark, to the point where it wasn't really comedic. Even I know you pointed out that the old people razzing Homer is kind of funny,
but it's one of the strengths of the show as well. It wasn't comedic, but that's a strength.
It touches you, and you see again we're seeing family being a big role, not just as a gag, but like that's what saves Homer's life. He was driven to do it because he wanted to support his family, and he felt like he couldn't. But in the end, he's reminded that he needs to keep living because his family saves him, but also the dangerous cars driving by his family gives him a new call for meaning.
Yeah, so, they also might not have they might not have intended this point, but it was also like his family saves him, and then he decides he's not going to kill himself because he has this new calling, and it's almost just like, oh hey, almost like this knock at like being born again, because he's obsessed with it for all of like 15 minutes, and then fucking he's just back to his old shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just in time for the next episode.
I looked up you here. I don't know if this is accurate. It says the student is consistently performing below expected grade level expectations. A U will be reported if there is growing concern for a child's performance in a given subject, skill, or grade level expectation.
Surprising he got a U in writing, considering all that chalk writing he does.
True. Good practice. So they used to tell me.
Yeah. So that's my psychology for the episode. Just the mental health.
In here, I thought you were gonna draw Homer's Odyssey comparisons.
Well, very briefly, we can talk about. It's great pun.
Let's do it.
Homer goes through an Odyssey. Obviously, Homer, the ancient Greek poet, who I think modern historians are pretty well agree that he didn't actually exist, but he's a composite figure. He wrote the Odyssey.
Homer was a word for somebody who told stories.
Yeah. And then he wrote the Odyssey about Odysseus. That's where the name Odyssey comes from. Really great book. Honestly, it's worth reading.
So I only read part of the Odyssey, and it was probably like 2 decades ago. Are there any actual parallels in the storyline of this episode to the storyline of the Odyssey, or is it just a clever play on words? Okay.
There's no Medusa analog. There's no Minotaur.
I think the only parallel is that Homer goes through a kind of journey but it's more of like obviously he loses his jaw. It's more of a material/spiritual journey, whereas
Yeah,
Odysseus,
not like literally cross the ocean.
back all over the
there's no
place,
parallel
going
to
to
that
different
either.
islands. His crewmates get turned into pigs. There's all kinds of wild stuff that happens in the Odyssey. There's the telemachy in the first part, which is all about Odysseus' son. It's a wild ride. I'd recommend readers check it out, but definitely it's just a goofy pun in the context of this episode.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Cool.
For sure. All right, the segment everyone's been waiting for this episode.
All right, just take your seat. Just take your seat. I even wrote theme music. There, listen. For Glaven out.
Professor Frank, make you laugh, make you think, likes to run, and then thing.
Ivan. Love Professor Frank. He's another one of my favorites.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, he's a pretty good sidekick. Let's see if your wheels still work.
Exactly 3. No, that's what I'm going to here to do in my Glyven segment. I am going to prove that pi is exactly 3. You guys ready for this? No, I'm not. We're going to talk about the Glyven of nuclear power. Okay.
Ooh.
So, the death rate per terawatt hour, which is how they measure death rates in energy sources.
Energy sectors, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. And means every 25 years, a single person would die due to nuclear power.
Ooh.
Is that low?
Average year, nobody would die. Yes, very low. It's there with... so the only thing less deaths per terawatt hour is solar. And basically comparable to nuclear is wind. But and the next one up is hydropower, but I'll get into that in a second. So the thing is that 0.04 deaths per terawatt hour for nuclear is actually thought to be a little high, because it's actually, if depending on how you look at it, because that's skewed by 2 events, basically, Chernobyl and Fukushima. So most of that 0.04 is in those 2 events.
Throws off the average, yeah.
Yeah.
Which
so
Fukushima, it's because it's right on the Pacific Ring of Fire, and there's a lot of earthquakes. I don't know. I can't remember actually what happened. It's been a while since I watched the
Chernobyl was human error.
Yeah, it's just human error. Yeah. Not great, not terrible, but hey.
Yeah. So the hydro data is also skewed, so it's quite a bit above, like a fair bit. It's like 1 point something above nuclear, and that's all skewed by a single event, which is I don't know how to say this, Bonqiao Dam failure in China in 1975, because that killed approximately 171,000 people.
Damn.
That skews your data. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So you can consider hydroelectric basically as safe. At least in that sense. They all have their other... This isn't the environmental concerns. This is just human casualty,
Yeah, that must have had, obviously had, civilian casualties and all kinds of shit, too. There must have been some kind of broken dam or something.
An entire city or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, the dam failure, so it just would have flooded. So nuclear power started in the 60s. It was popular through the 70s, 80s, and 90s, where this show is taking place. But that's when people started to get suspicious of it because of Chernobyl. So that's where all the suspicion in this show is coming from, though at that time nuclear power was actually increasing. So that wasn't the common thing happening in the world. It was just like a thought, with the everyday people, that maybe nuclear power has issues.
So, the perception of the public, but not the reality of the way the world was moving.
Yep, and then it tapered off, and then nuclear power saw a huge dip after Fukushima, and now people are trying to get rid of it in certain countries, and other places trying to increase it. So the world leaders in nuclear power generation are Canada, China, France, the USA, and Russia, and that's most of the nuclear power in the world is in those 5 countries. So in 2019, just 4% of primary energy worldwide was nuclear. So Springfield, the nuclear power plant that we see, is a 2-unit pressurized water reactor. So there are 2 kinds of nuclear power plants currently being used. Now, there are some new ones coming in now. But basically, it's just boiling water. It's just boiling water and moving a turbine. Like
They
so much
explained that in the video already, Davan. Come on.
I know. Just let me get to what I'm doing there, Baker. I didn't interrupt the Simsology segment.
Laughed so hard I lost my headphones. Jesus.
So the one way is the water is just there in the reactor and it just burns right off. But the Simpsons one is the pressurized reactor. So it pressurizes that heated water from the basically so. It's splitting uranium ions, and then neutrons send off, and that splits more uranium ions. That generates heat, boils water, spins a turbine. That's nuclear reactors. But this one, so it pressurizes that heated water, so it can't evaporate, and then it sends that water into these tubes, which then heats other water, and that water evaporates. So
that's why I could be totally wrong here, but is that why they have cooling towers? Like when Lisa sang the song, like by the big cooling tower, because it's pressurizing it instead of releasing it, that needs like this constant equalization, doesn't it, or something to that effect? I was watching some documentary like fucking last year. I'm probably getting the facts wrong, but there was something about.
But how much power do you get from a tire fire? That's what I want to know.
Well, they had the tire yard when they're doing the field trip. They drive by it. It wasn't on fire.
It wasn't on fire yet.
They drive by the tire yard.
They're getting there. Classic background scenery is,
so
getting there.
Basically, here's where Blinky comes into it. So basically, other than the toxic waste that's left over, that they bury.
Yeah, no one will find it.
They just stick it in trees and stuff in Springfield, but normally it's just buried. There isn't actually contaminated material to release. So like they have that tube that goes into the water and creates Blinky and stuff, but that really shouldn't have anything in it. That's just water runoff. So they're either completely mishandling their waste, which they are, of course, but even within their own plant, or they've got like leaky everything. It's just leaking into their wastewater because it doesn't really make sense. Because most of the environmental impacts of nuclear generation is in the mining of the uranium and the enrichment of it, which is where the U-235 comes in that he mentions in that video. That's what they enrich uranium. So uranium has 3 isotopes, and the one they really want is U-235. So when you enrich uranium, you're just increasing the amount of U-235 in the uranium. And that process has like issues with, radioactive dust and radioactive tailing ponds and that stuff that it leaves behind. So
wow, you got all that orange juice from one basket of oranges?
Yep, exactly.
That was
the Glavin.
That was a good Glavin, Dad. That was interesting.
That was interesting.
Thanks.
So I think we see the writers they don't quite understand nuclear power then.
But also again,
Mr. Burns.
Well, they do. Like
Mr.
a lot
Burns
of the writers are
mathematicians
in this show.
They could be like purposely misrepresenting it again. It's like purposely showing this like waste runoff, which
the negative side effects,
they may or may not be aware actually happens, but it's part of like the narrative and like the caricature of it that they're trying to draw, right?
Yeah, and those things do happen, like from mishandled waste and stuff. But it's just the way they showed it that shouldn't really happen. But like those Blinky fish would more likely come from like the tailing ponds at the enrichment or the mining facilities rather than the plant itself.
Should I get a Blinky tattoo?
No, we're getting hellfish tattoos, Baker.
I can have there's room on my body for more than one.
Listen, he's getting a tattoo a week, so let the man have his ideas, all right?
So our first episode, we played a little game called Who's Been Talking with Davy Tightlips, but we're not doing that tonight. Because tonight we are
now let's have even more fun.
More fun with Principal Skelhorn.
Ooh.
So I got a different game for you fellas today. Okay. Right now, Franny's up 1-0.
All right.
You know what? Yeah. So, all right, here we go. This is about obscure characters. All right. Name. Whoever shouts it out first gets it. Who is this character?
Oh, shit. It's Homer's assistant.
Carl.
I can't remember his name.
Carl to Francis.
Yeah.
For another point, either of you can chime in here. Who voiced Carl?
I can't remember. It's
Recognizable
very distinctive voice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No,
See,
no guesses?
Francis is going to win.
Harvey
most of these
Harvey
games.
Firestein. Harvey Firestein.
Okay. Keep them coming.
1 point to for Francis. Who is this character?
Oh, that's Lisa's teaching instructor, but I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's a play on words, something musical though.
And I'm a host on the Simpsons podcast, Pete.
His name is Dewey Largo.
Okay.
No, that can't be correct.
Dewey Largo.
It's Mr. Largo. That sounds
Mr. Largo.
Yeah, Dewey Largo.
Wow.
Who voices Dewey Largo?
I'm gonna go.
I don't know
with,
the voice actors well enough. I'm not gonna get
Castellanella.
No.
Damn.
Harry Shearer.
Shearer. Okay.
So still 1-0 for Annie. Still. Who is this character?
Oh, that's
Handsome Pete.
Handsome Pete.
That is Handsome Pete. 2-0.
Not a quarter. I'm not worried about winning. I just have fun playing these games.
Yeah. You still got to try to win, Baker. All right, who is this character?
Oh, I'm trying.
Guy Incognito.
Mr. Shrub. No, not Mr. Shrub.
Francis, 3-0 Francis. That is Guy Incognito.
It's funny how my brain works because Mr. Shrub is another character where.
Well, Shrub has the mustache too, yeah, but it's Mr. Burns.
All right.
I like
Granny's
the way
up.
Mr. Shrub thinks.
Franny's up 3-0 Baker, but there are 4 possible points for me.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
I'm just having fun.
Who is this character?
Hugh Jazz.
It is Hugh Jazz.
Yes.
Oh.
3-1.
Okay.
I feel
all right.
okay.
For another point,
gotten on the board.
who voiced Hugh Jazz?
I don't think it was a famous person. I think it was probably just one of the regular voice actors. Was it Shearer again? Was it?
Was 3-2 Baker. Don't call it a comeback. Baker's
okay. I'm sweating now. I'm sweating.
All right, two points left. Who is this character?
Oh, that's Ruth. I forget her last name.
I'll give that one to you, Baker. It's Ruth Powers.
Ruth Powers.
I just watched that episode too, and I fucking
the Bonnie and Clyde episode, or not Bonnie and Clyde. It's what is that a spoof of? Where Marge and her go on the lam.
This one's gonna be a tough one. Who voiced Ruth Powers?
I have no idea. You can steal it, Baker, if you get this.
I don't remember. I'm gonna have to study up on a lot of the voice actors' names and their backgrounds, but I don't know if I remember this one. It wasn't Kathy Griffin, was it?
No, it was Pamela Reed.
Okay. Who else did she voice?
She was Arnold Schwarzenegger's partner in Kindergarten Cop.
Oh,
but
there you go.
Also, she was Leslie Knope's mother on Parks and Recreation.
I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Just forgive me, fellas. Here, I'm just firing up a quick tiebreaker. We got a 3-3 tie here. Oh no, that one didn't work. All right, talk amongst yourselves for a second.
We can both be winners, and
No, we
Davan
can't.
could be the loser. That'd be a fun twist.
Okay, I do like that.
Because
I don't like it. Fellas.
All right, rapid fire.
I just create the games. I don't play them. All right, here we go. Here's the tiebreaker. Who is this character?
Oh,
Leopold.
Yeah,
Leopold. Francis takes it 4-3. That was a knuckle.
Listen up, you freaks! I almost won the competition this time.
Yeah, close.
Next time, Francis. Yeah, Leopold's a great character.
He is, yeah.
Yeah, Leopold.
You're
All
so
right.
quick
Well,
on the
here's
draw,
something
man.
we didn't do yet, fellas. We got to rate this
The
episode.
most harmless people like Marge and Ned Flanders too.
Marge Simpson.
I rate this. This is a 2 out of 5 for me. Again, it has some really moving emotional moments, but there's not a ton of. There are definitely some fun gags. It's funny, but we're not seeing the high highs yet. I think of the comedic side of The Simpsons. We're getting a lot of the great emotional stuff, but we get some really great laughs later. The show really takes it up a notch in the comedy, so a 2 for me.
Yeah, it's still pretty sitcom-y. They're still getting the like heartfelt edge to it, which is like great. But yeah, I mean, if we're talking favoritism and like comedy factor. There's so much more that they do as you get into this. You really can't give any of these higher than a 2 or a 3 when you think of the scheme of them. I'll give this one a 2.
Okay, me too. So we agree. I mean, there's one big highlight for me, which is Moe's line about him always changing his name. That one always slipped by me, and that is an amazing line.
Very funny.
So you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. What?
Yeah. I just realized my favorite gag, I think, is when Mr. Burns says they're eating out of his hand. I haven't seen anyone like this since Jolson, where he's referring to Al Jolson, the famous blackface performer. Like, it just shows how Mr. Burns is such an antiquated. Anyway, sorry, I had to slip that in before I forgot.
Yeah. I meant to talk about Jolson too, actually. I'm glad you nailed it. Do you have a favorite gag in this one, Francis? Since we both went for it.
No, nothing off the top of my head.
No,
I mean, the phone call, like the phone call's classic, but it's been said, right?
Yeah,
it's been done.
KBBBL podcast at gmail.com. You can find the audio only version, not quite wherever you get your podcasts, because we're on Anchor. It's a free service, so they send it to a few places. But
I found it.
My X-Men podcast you can get anywhere. But yeah, we're on a few, and I'm gonna have it spread to a few more. So, we are a proud member of United Federation of Podcasts. Speaking of that federation, let's talk about our federation for a minute here, fellas. Yes, we do Star Trek shows. Good point, Francis. We do over at the Command Division at Live Long and Podcast.
Good point, Francis.
Yeah, well, I only saw his Vulcan symbol. They do the show reviews. And we do, in the Ops Division, we do Star Trek Radio Theater. And then there's my Science Division that I run with an iron fist, where we do things like Class L probes. In Debate 9, we get into the weeds. And, you know, Dave Puxley says things. So that's usually pretty deep as well.
Yeah, it's always
and we have our little side branch, the Cuters of Trek, where we, me and Dave do things. We're doing a Treckle Trunk tomorrow, where we review Star Trek comics that are coming out currently. The Cisco is back, and he goes and visits Worf this issue. It's pretty great. And the third issue of Lower Decks 3, and a Trill issue, so that's fun. And also check out, us, of course, KBBBL, but also Hold Up, a movie podcast that me and Murphy do every second Wednesday. The next one is 3 Christmas movies. We'll talk about The Apartment from 1960, Gremlins, and Tokyo Godfathers. And also check out the Graphic Histories podcast with Andre Mayette, where he interviews many, many people from the comics and nerddom world and film world and that kind of stuff too. He is also my co-host on this show, X-Rated, the X-Men Animated Review Show. We're just started season 4, but we got a big interview coming up this Tuesday with the voice of Storm, Allison Seeley-Smith. I'm super stoked about that because Storm is a top 3 character in all literature for me, really. And
all literature, damn.
Oh man, I love Storm. You kidding me? Well, I mean, my favorite comic characters are my favorite literature characters, unless you count Star Trek.
Yeah, I was judging. I was just saying that's impressive that she ranks that high.
Over Odysseus.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I like Storm better than Odysseus for sure. No question there. So yeah, check that out on Tuesday.
Odysseus has to deal with the storm.
That's true.
Also check out
Odysseus is real though, isn't he? He's like whether that ship didn't happen to him. Okay.
No, he's probably not a real character. Yeah. They just made shit up.
Back in those days and called it history.
Yeah.
We need
They
inspiring.
call Homer the
figures for
father
our
of history, and no, that's not Homer. That's
Herodotus. He was real.
The father of history, but also the father of lies.
Well, he definitely told some solid tales. The reason he was the father of history, though, is because he was the first guy that, like, at least tried not to make shit up. Like, Homer was just making shit.
Yeah. So yeah, check that out. Check out Trivial Debates. I hosted the last one. I'm competing on the next one. It's about Christmas stuff. We just got the questions today. That's pretty fun. So check that out next Sunday. And Nuclears of Trek 2, we're doing Trouble with Trivia this Sunday. So Treckle Trunk Saturday, Trouble with Trivia, hosted by Quiz Admiral Ashley Millard. Check that out. And also check out the Hellbound podcast with Alex Blackburn and Michael Chan. And I believe that's our entire federation. Wait, did I skip the Super Mater Brothers? I hope
We got to cut down. We got to
the
find
Super Mater Brothers. Check out the Super Mater Brothers. They get your reality TV show reviews.
2 of them are your cousins.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, that's it, fellas.
All right.
Any final words?
For me, just check out my Instagram if you want to see animals and stuff. Thunder Perfect Mind _ between each word. Have fun, everybody. Be safe.
Peace.
I can only leave you with the words my father gave me. Stand tall, have courage, and never give up.
Never give up, everybody.
KBBBL Podcast. Where the extra B is for BYOBB.